What's up, y'all? Wow. 20 minutes late. I had a day. I'm just gonna start off with that. I had a day. Issues with the heater in the house. Everything's fine now, thankfully, but I had to go to Home Depot. Just a lot. Then none of my streaming stuff was working. The computer wasn't recognizing the camera. The camera then, once it was recognized by the computer, the footage wasn't coming through, but it was just a lot was going on. So much that I didn't even really promote this episode like I normally do. So if nobody pulls up, I'm not even going to be sad. I don't think I'm going to be live long. I'll be honest, I'm not going to be live long. It's not even, I don't think, I know. But if you are here, if you're watching it after the live, thank you for pulling up. Hawks Hoops happens every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a live, interactive basketball YouTube show, essentially. NBA YouTube show, I should say. But I got a couple of things I just want to go over tonight. Give some shout outs to a couple of teams. Really looking forward to the second half of the season. Some teams are heating up what I feel like is the right time. I'm also just looking forward to All-Star break in general. I always love watching All-Star weekend. It's always just a fun time. I said in actually last week's episode. I don't know if I said it during the normal episode or I said it during the emergency broadcast I did last week after the James Harden Ben Simmons trade, that Kevin Durant does not know how to draft. Like, Kevin Durant cannot draft all-star teams. If you ask me, I'm telling you right now, Team LeBron should be the team that wins. The skills challenge I'm really looking forward to. I think there's Team Giannis, which is Giannis and his two brothers, Thanasis and I cannot remember his other brother's name. And then Cleveland has a team. I want to say it's like Darius Garland, Jared Allen, and Evan Mobley all on the same team. And then the third team is NBA All-Star. I thought I knew it. I thought I knew it off the top of my head. Talk about skills challenge this year. Let's see. All right, so three teams: Antetokounmpo brothers, Alex, Thanasis, and Giannis. I always forget Alex's name. And then the other one is the rookies: Scotty Barnes, Cade Cunningham, and Josh Giddey. That low key is gonna be an interesting one. And then Jarris Allen, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley. Excuse me. That's Saturday at 8 p.m. I'm assuming that's probably right before. That might be they just call it an All-Star Saturday night. It starts at 8 o'clock. Everything starts at 8 o'clock. I don't know what time. Oh. Let's go over the schedule of events real quick while we're here. You know what I mean? What's up? What we talking about? Thank you for pulling up to the stream, Blueberry. How you doing? I'm just real quick going over my thoughts on All-Star coming up this weekend because I could not remember the order of events. And I was also apologizing for being literally 20 minutes late because I had a day, Blueberry. I ain't gonna hold you. I had a day. I was trying to see what was first. All right, so yeah, it just says All-Star Saturday night starts at 8 p.m. The skills challenge is first, 3-point contest is second, and the slam dunk contest is third. I want to say last week I gave my prediction for the 3-point contest, but if I didn't, my money is on. Oh wow, 3-point contest is actually really interesting. It's Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard, Zach LaVine, C.J. McCollum, Patty Mills, Karl Anthony Towns, Fred VanVleet, Trae Young. I'm going with Desmond Bane. Personally, I'm going with Desmond Bane. All right, so let's talk about some actual NBA basketball. I feel like the last couple of episodes, there's been a lot of trade talks, a lot of just speculation of trades leading up to the deadline. Then the deadline happened. We had a whole episode dedicated to reacting to the trades that happened at the deadline. If you haven't seen that yet, I highly encourage you to check that one out. That was a very, very fun stream. We did that Thursday night, the day of the deadline. But I've got a couple of things I want to talk about today. Not a whole lot. Like I said, I had a day. I didn't really have the time to really flesh out my docket. This is what I call my notes, like I usually do. The first thing I wanted to talk about is how on fire. Now hear me out. They're not going crazy, but how on fire the Boston Celtics are right now. Right. So as of right now, and you know what I mean? We're friends here. So let's y'all see this? Come on, man. Like I told y'all, I had some camera issues today. All right. So let's look at a couple of things. I want to talk about how on fire the Boston Celtics are right now. The Celtics, they're on a 9-game win streak. They won 9 of their last 10. And I want to say, if you look even further back, they've won, I want to say 12 of the last 15 I was looking at earlier today. And they're just playing really, really good basketball. In their last 15 games, they have the #1 defense in the league. In the month of January, even, they had the #1 defense in the league. But in the last 15 games, it's been really apparent how great their defense has been. Now, we all know me. I like talking about strength of schedule. When you look at who they played over these 9 games, I mean, they haven't played amazing teams. They beat the Hawks. That was a solid win. They destroyed my Sixers. I was very impressed by that win by them. I watched that Celtics game on Sunday. I'm mad the Hawks blew that lead in the second half. Yeah, I was surprised at that, but I mean, talking about the Celtics, I think the part of that goes to their improved defense in these last month. About month and a half, really, including February and January. And the addition of Derek White, from the Spurs. Really, really good lockdown defender guard. I think he's only going to make their defense better. And a player like him, I was listening to, if you're into NBA podcasts, which I'm assuming you're into NBA podcasts if you're watching mine, I highly suggest checking out The Mismatch. They don't do a video version like this, but it's only on audio. I listened to it on Spotify, but you can find it anywhere. It's Kevin O'Connor and Chris Vernon. Very, very good podcast. But today they were talking about the Celtics and their trade for Derek White and how impactful he's going to be, not just defensively, but just as a hooper, like literally just a basketball player. They went on to talk about how, and I agreed, that when it comes to Spurs players who actually got playing time with the Spurs and spent a lot of time playing for the Spurs and got used to playing for Pop and playing under Pop, can plug and play anywhere in the league. And I think Derek White's going to be really, really, really good for this Celtics team. And then a lot of people are asking the question, well, okay, so the Celtics are playing really good now. Like I said, they ain't been playing that much crazy competition, but there are a lot of good games mixed in here. That Nuggets win is a good win. I know it's just Jokic, is what a lot of people are saying, but that Nuggets team is a solid team now. You got to show up to play that, to beat them. The Celtics in the beginning half of the season would not have beat the Nuggets team. Magic, obviously easy win. The Pistons, obviously easy win. The Hornets, I wouldn't call that an easy win, but that's a team that the Celtics, we all thought the Celtics would be going into the season, should beat. I think the Celtics are starting to finally, at least in this last month and a half, look like the team we expected them to look like. It looked like a team that beats up on bad teams. They beat the Pelicans. They lost against the Hawks here, beat the Heat, which I thought was a really, really impressive win. They've just been impressing me a lot. The defense was there. They have a top 10 offense right now in terms of offensive rating. If you're just looking at that, they have the #1 defense, and they have a top 10 offense in the last month and a half, I want to say. I looked it up earlier today. So then, like I said, a lot of people are starting to ask the question, what does that mean for the Celtics? Blueberry, you read my mind. Do I think the Celtics will make the playoffs? A lot of people started asking that question. At this rate, I think it's really still tough. I think the Celtics should make the playoffs, but I think the Celtics will be a play-in team, and it's unfortunate. I'll make this bigger so you guys can see it. There we go. It's unfortunate, but I think the Eastern Conference is just really, I feel like I say this every week, but the Eastern Conference is just really tight right now. And it's going to be some disappointed teams because somebody can't make the playoffs. Somebody's not going to make the playoffs. I'm not even going to say can't. Somebody's not going to make the playoffs. And if you look, teams 1 through 10, and I'd even say 11 and 12, going into this season, all of these teams saw themselves as playoff teams. In my eyes, I truly think all these teams saw themselves as playoff teams. There's going to be a lot of teams that are disappointed and don't make the playoffs this postseason. Let me, my fault, Blueberry. Let me answer your question. Let me just in case somebody does call. I meant to have the phone lines open since I got the number on the screen. There we go. Phone lines are now officially open. All right. Yeah. All right. Serge pulled up. Sorry, man. I'm like, hey, Serge, you ain't late. I was late too, man. It's all good. I had some serious technical difficulties and cannot get the stream started on time today for the life of me. I was about another 5 minutes away from just canceling the stream. But we're talking about the Boston Celtics, the Eastern Conference, how tight the Eastern Conference is, and where I think the Boston Celtics will fall in the Eastern Conference standings when it's all said and done, right? So like I was saying, all these teams, in my mind, 1 through 12, based off of their success of last season and or the moves they made this offseason, almost all of these teams expected to be playoff teams. Maybe except the Cavaliers. I don't know if even the Cavaliers expected to be this good, but maybe they did. Maybe they really had. I mean, if you're front office, that's what you want to see. You want to see you made some good draft picks. You want to see you made some nice, player development, moving, stuff like that. So they might have hoped to be a playoff team. They definitely caught the league by storm, though. And when you look at a team like the Celtics, they're literally only a game behind. They're 2 losses behind the Sixers in terms of standings, both 34 and 23, 34 and 25. They're all right there. The fact that the Celtics are 3.5 games behind first place says a lot about their perseverance, because at one point we were like, oh, okay, well, the Celtics are a lottery team at one point. Maybe not a lottery team, but no one was expecting the Celtics to be this good. Do I believe in it? Do I think they can sustain it throughout the rest of the season? I do, honestly. I don't think this makes them title contenders. I saw some people getting into that conversation because their defense is so good, because they are on the winning streak. I don't think this makes them title contenders, right? But I think they should make the playoffs. So to answer the question of do I think they're going to make the playoffs, where do I see them falling into the playoffs? Only because if the East stays this close and eventually 6 to 8 weeks, at this point it should really be like 4 to 6 weeks, Kevin Durant potentially comes back. I could see the Nets bumping them off, coming up and trying to really take that 6th seed. But I mean, 7, 8, 9, 10, the Celtics are going to be in the play-in tournament. Now, is it going to be easy play-in tournament? If you ask me, I think the Celtics should make the playoffs. I think the Celtics are better than the Hornets. I think the Celtics are better than the Hawks. I think the Celtics are on par with the Toronto Raptors. The way the Raptors have been playing, the Raptors have been playing really, really well this season. And the Celtics, although, like I said, they're playing good now, we saw what they looked like in the first half of the season. So I don't know if I'm really like chomping at the bit to really be like, okay, I'm ready for the Celtics to make a playoff push. Celtics should make the first round. They should probably, in my mind, will be a 7, 8 seed. Win their play-in game, then make it into the first round. And depending on who they match up with, if they're the 8 seed, they match up against the Heat. If they're the 7 seed, they match up against the Bulls. I'm just saying, if the season were to end today, those top 3 teams are probably going to move around. But I like their odds. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I'm just saying I like their odds to at least make it interesting, make it a more than just a sweep. I don't see the Celtics getting swept in the first round. Honestly, I don't see any team really getting swept in the first round unless you just show up and you're not ready. Serge says, I would love to see the Hornets in the playoffs. It would be a lot of fun. I agree. I really want to see the Hornets in the playoffs. I like LaMelo Ball. I think not Mikal Bridges, but I get Mikal Bridges and the other Bridges mixed up all the time. I told you I had a long day. Who am I thinking of? Not Mikal. I'm thinking Miles. See, it wasn't gonna come to me. I like Miles Bridges. Thanks, Serge. I like both of those guys. I think it's a really fun team. I would love to see the Hornets make the playoffs, right? But I was thinking, since we're on the topic of the Eastern Conference and the playoffs, I was thinking earlier today. Well, actually, this was last week. Somebody's going to be disappointed after that first round and are really going to have to take a hard reevaluating look at themselves at the end of this postseason, because you got the Heat, you got the Bulls, you got the Bucks, you got the Cavs, you got the Sixers, and you still have the Nets. Kerwick, we're going to talk about the Western Conference in a second. We're talking about the East right now, but I got you on that, who I got winning the Western Conference. So you got the Heat, the Bulls, the Bucks, the Cavs, the Sixers, and the Nets. Maybe take out the Cavs, because I don't think going into the season, I just mentioned this, I don't think going into the season they had these type of expectations. They may be, I'm going to put in air quotes, okay with the first round exit. But out of the Heat, the Bulls, the Bucks, the Sixers, and the Nets, one of these teams are getting knocked in the first round. And whoever gets knocked in the first round is going to look like huge, I mean huge disappointment for this season. Because all of these teams, with the moves they made, with the looking back at the success they had and maybe even years prior, or the players that they have on this team, their teams, none of these teams went into this season, or even with the moves they made during the season leading up to the trade deadline, none of these teams expected to be a first round exit. But one of these teams have to be a first round exit. And it sucks to say, I might sound like a hater, but if anybody had to be a first round exit, damn, I don't know who I'd pick. It's tough. My gut wants to say either the Bulls or the Heat would be the first round exit. And I feel like that's a little controversial because I've talked so highly of the Heat this season. The Sixers fan in me won't let it. I might be me being biased, but I do see James Harden helping us. The addition of James Harden helping us out a lot. But I think that addition could be so volatile that the Sixers might even be the team that doesn't get out of the first round. But the teams that I do see making it out of the first round, the Nets, just because you have Kevin Durant, you're making it out the first round. The Bucks, they're making it out the first round. Honestly, I got the Heat making it out the first round. Like it's just so, and Serge just said it, for God only knows how many years the East was this good and this close. Like it's been so long since the Eastern Conference has been this close. Since the Eastern Conference has been the more competitive conference where people are like, hey, the Eastern Conference standings shift almost every night. If you lose 2 games in a row, you win 3 games in a row, you can literally go from like the 6th seed to the 1 seed. You can go from the 1 seed to the 8th seed. The Eastern Conference moves so much and it is so competitive. And between the injuries and players moving around and not knowing the status of Kyrie Irving in terms of home games, the Bulls struggling with injuries, it's really wide open in my opinion. And yes, Serge, there will be surprise in the first round for sure, and at least one contender or someone we consider a contender will lose. And it then makes you wonder, and this is just me speculating, this is where my mind goes, that I just hope that whatever team does lose in the first round, because yes, we know somebody unfortunately has to lose in the first round, I just hope they don't completely blow it up. Now, retool, yeah, maybe retool, try to get better, because clearly you felt like, something happened that you weren't good enough to beat whatever your first round matchup. If I get retooling, I just really hope we don't see a full blown just tear down of whatever team doesn't make it. Because as of right now, in my opinion, all of these teams are very well constructed. All of these teams have something good about them. They have a future to look forward to. I don't think any of these teams, I mean, maybe outside of the Sixers with the whole James Harden situation, are in a this or bust mode. Like all of these teams, for the most part, have a future that they can continue to build off if it doesn't work out. All right. If I had to pick someone who, because I'm gonna talk about the Western Conference, as Kara asked, if I had to pick someone out of the Eastern Conference to make it to the finals, it's got to be the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they have the most poise. I think they have what could be probably the best player in a series, unless they're going up against Kevin Durant or Joel, and then even then it's still arguable whether it's Joel Embiid versus Giannis or Kevin Durant versus Giannis. There's an argument on who's the best player. I don't think it's a clear cut whatever, but against anybody else in the league, in the Eastern Conference, they're going to have the best player on the court at all times. And I also think the Bucks are a very well put together team. I think they have a lot of talent. I think they have a lot of high end talent. Jrue Holiday, Chris Middleton. I think the addition of Serge Ibaka is huge for them. I mean, the addition of Serge Ibaka, I didn't think the Bucks were going to be crazy active during the trade deadline, to be completely honest with you. But for them to be able to go out and snipe Serge Ibaka, that's literally priceless. Because what did the Bucks need? They needed a big. They needed big man depth. Now, for them to be able to do that, I just got to tip my hat to them, to be completely honest with you. Blueberry says the 1-10 seeds in the East are all talented teams in their own way. I mean, facts. All talented teams in their own way. Kerwick, defending champion, so you can't go wrong. Also true. Also true. let's look at this Western Conference real quick, shall we? So out West, for a while, it wasn't really that close. And it's still, in my opinion, it's not close in terms of how close teams are to the number 1 and number 2 seed. The Suns are head and shoulders above everybody else, guys. Like head and shoulders. And honestly, it's going to ruin the suspense of tonight's episode, but that's the team I have winning the Western Conference. The Phoenix Suns, that's the team I have winning the Western Conference. I like the Warriors. I really, really do. I love Steph. Klay Thompson started to look like himself, especially the last couple of weeks, last couple of games. He's starting to look a little bit better as he ramps up. Of course, Draymond Green's going to come back and that team's going to look a little bit better. But what I'm seeing from the Phoenix Suns, it's just it's a maturity. That's what it is. The talent is there, obviously. They're extremely talented. Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges, actually. DeAndre Ayton, JaVale McGee's actually been, I like what I'm seeing. Like, they have talented players, but there's definitely a level of maturity that is there with this Phoenix Suns team that, while I think it was there a little bit last year, I think is there way better this year. Like, I think because Chris Paul brought a level of maturity to them last year. Chris Paul brought a level of leadership to them last year. But I think them going to the finals, not winning the finals, really pushed them to be like, okay, we know how good we are. We know we can make it to the finals. We know we are a legit team. And you see guys like Cam Johnson stepping up. Like, you see these guys really just stepping up and playing better. And that's why, for me, the Suns are going to the finals. As of right now, 8:44 p.m. Wednesdays, February 16th, Hawk is saying the Suns are going to the finals. Cam Foot, what's up, man? Thank you for pulling up to the stream. Hey, before y'all ask, we just happen to have red cups. This is sweet tea from McDonald's. But looking at the rest of the Western Conference and how it's shaping up so far going into the All-Star break, Serge says Suns are winning the finals. Listen, Serge, listen. I would love, y'all know how much I love Chris Paul. I talk about Chris Paul almost every week. I would love for Chris Paul to get a championship. Absolutely love for Chris Paul to get a championship. The West just doesn't look like what it used to, man. Like, when I was growing up, when I was watching basketball in the 2010s, 2011, 2013, 14, like when I started watching basketball, the West was way close. It was like always close. It was a big up and down when it came to the Western Conference. You could win a couple of games, lose a couple of games, you're moving, just like right now in the Eastern Conference. But this West, man, I'll tell you a couple of things I do like that I'm seeing. I'm obviously loving what the Grizzlies have been doing. The fact that they're third in the Western Conference, I ain't see that coming. Just like very similar to the Cavaliers. I thought the Grizzlies would have been a playoff team. I think we saw Ja Morant take a leap this year, and I think Anthony Edwards took another leap this year, and I was really liking the building I was seeing from them, and I expected them to be in the playoffs. Did I expect them to be third in the West? No. Let me read these comments real quick. They coming in. Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all for pulling up. Serge, Suns are winning the finals. You know what I mean? Kerwick, the Lakers are first round exit. Man, listen, we're gonna talk about the Lakers. I got some thoughts about the Lakers. We'll talk about them in a second. Cam Foot, big fan of you. Hey, man, appreciate you for pulling up from TikTok. Thank you. Serge, I feel like the Jazz will lose to the 10th seed in the East in the playoff series. Yeah, I think the Jazz are first round exit. Dang. Lonzo gonna carry his team again with the Bulls. Wait, who's 10th in the East that you said that, Serge? Let me see. The Hawks? I mean, low key. So let me well, I'm gonna talk about the Jazz first, right? So a lot of people think, I'm hearing this, people say that, yeah, Blueberry and Serge saying the Jazz could be potentially first round exits. I have a little bit of faith in the Jazz, right? And this is why. I think missing Joe Ingles is gonna hurt them a lot. I really do. I think that's gonna hurt them a lot. But who was in that trade? I don't remember who was in that trade. I'm trying to look it up real quick. Who was in the Joe Ingles trade? Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I I don't love him, but I think he could be a nice little extra ball handler alongside Donovan. But I like the Jazz a lot. I don't know if the Jazz would lose in the first round, especially if the Jazz, speculation here. Hypothetically, season's over today. The Jazz play the Mavericks, right? First round matchup. Could the Jazz lose this? Yes. To be real, like, we all know what Luka can do. We all know who Luka is. He's special. Do I think the Jazz would lose that matchup? No, because I don't know. The Mavericks really don't have anyone who can really guard Donovan Mitchell, in my opinion. Jalen Brunson is a solid defender. I like him on defense, but I don't think he's really holding Donovan Mitchell. But at the same time, the Jazz don't really have anyone that holds Luka Doncic. Because Luka is a guard who doesn't necessarily have to get the rim all the time. So you're like Rudy's in the paint, obviously, yeah. But Luka can operate in that mid-range with mid-range pull-ups, step back, stuff like that. So he can work around Rudy Gobert. That would really actually be a really interesting and fun first-round matchup to watch. The Jazz needs to find someone who was a good playoff player. Rudy Gay leading the Jazz to the finals. Serge says the Jazz would beat by the Mavs, but would lose to the first team in the East, at least in my opinion. I mean, that's all right. I can see that. Who would be my favorite to get Spidey if you ask out? Spidey's not asking out. But if he were to ask out, I mean, honestly, someone like Donovan Mitchell, you can throw on almost any team. Really good, young, like super young, offensively minded two-guard. I mean, it's not. That's a tough one. I don't know. I don't think he's going to ask out. That's a tough one. I don't know where he would go, but I know a lot of teams would try to get him. I want to talk about the Clippers real quick. I'm really surprised and proud, honestly, at the Clippers. The fact that they're making the eighth seed. Honestly, the fact that technically right now they have a better record than the Lakers is really surprising me. I know it's not much. It's a 3-game difference. But it's impressive. When Paul George went down earlier this season, Paul George is one of my favorite players. I thought he was having an amazing season. He was definitely having at least an all-NBA caliber season, at least in my opinion. He would have made an all-NBA team. And when he went down with his injury, the fact that they still obviously don't have Kawhi Leonard, they just have guys who can play ball. They got guys who can hoop, which has me looking forward to their future next year. They might make some, a couple of tweaks, retool a couple of things after seeing the type of players they have without Paul George, without Kawhi Leonard, to be able to put together a team around them. The Clippers are going to be really scary next year, guys. Just watch out for them real quick. Just watch out. Defensive Player of the Year thoughts from Karawick. It's on the list to talk about. Spada, Mitchell to Jokic, they're going all the way. That'd actually be a really exciting team. I don't know how much defense the Nuggets will be playing, but that'd be a really exciting team. Rudy Gay, All-NBA first team. Rudy Gay's the GOAT says. Battle of LA play-in game would be cool. Bro, Clippers beat my Warriors yesterday. Yeah, they did. It's just making me sad seeing the Clips and Wolves being over the Lakers. Ooh, Lakers fan. Honestly, I think we got a potential to see something like that. A Clippers-Lakers play-in game would be actually really interesting, and I'd enjoy seeing that. It's possible because, and the only reason I say this, that means the Lakers would have to slide a little bit more to drop down. But how they're situated right now, the Clippers, Lakers, Blazers, Pelicans, I think it'll stay somewhere around that. I think the Pelicans will probably slide up, take the Blazers spot. The Blazers continue to lose games. I mean, the Spurs and Kings obviously on their tails. They want to try to get in there. I'd be really surprised though if the Blazers just flat out don't make it. I think Anthony Simons is playing very well. We've heard snippets of what Damian Lillard said since the CJ McCollum trade, that he's looking forward to getting back to work. He's rehabbing well, at least the latest reports. Personally, I don't see the point of him coming back this season, but from what I can tell, he's working hard and he wants to come back this season if it looks like the Blazers are going to be in playoff contention, which, I mean, it's on the cusp right now, but they might still be there. Defensive Player of the Year. Since Karawick asked. Initially, my pick was Giannis. If Draymond Green hadn't been injured and played most of the season, honestly, I'd probably be more so leaning towards him. I've seen a lot of talk about Mikal Bridges also making Defensive Player of the Year. His numbers don't pop out at you. Where's my mouse? His numbers don't pop off the screen at you, but I think he's playing very, very well. And I'm just really liking what I'm seeing from him. He helps the Suns' switchability. Like, he typically guards the best ball handler, at least the best wing. Sometimes they might put a Chris Paul on if it's a smaller guard, because Chris Paul's defense is also still very impressive. It's a little slower than he used to be, but the defensive fundamentals are definitely still there. All right, let me check my notes real quick. Talked about the East. I talked about the Suns a little bit. I already said they're my pick going into the finals this year. So honestly, if you ask me, we're having a repeat. If you were to ask me today, we're having a repeat of last year's finals, Bucks Suns. I got Giannis. He's so engineering and essential on the defense for the Bucks. Great pick. Great pick. All right, y'all. Let me see here. Do y'all have any other questions? Like I said, I don't know if I appreciate y'all pulling up and checking out the stream. I wish I had more for tonight's show. I just don't. I unfortunately, I really don't. But I'm probably gonna head up out of here. Appreciate you guys for pulling up. I just had a really long day and I didn't have the time to fully prepare. Like I like to prepare, so I do apologize, but I do appreciate y'all for pulling up to the stream. I'm going to record a couple more TikTok shorts, get those out there so I can have some stuff for the rest of the season. Kerrick says, honestly, I'm not a Russ hater, but the decision. Oh, all right. Now y'all got some questions. Decision making is getting worse, very sadly. Do you think Chris Paul was 5'3"? He's be good. Kerrick, I ain't gonna hold you. That's an interesting question. I don't know if anyone in the league at 5'3" would be good. The only guys who were that short and good, what we talking about, like Spud Webb, Muggsy Bowles, like that type of guys. And I mean, those guys, while they were good, no one considers them like all-time greats, at least in my opinion. Like, they were solid. They were great for their time. They were, a couple-time All-Stars, both of them. But no one's considering them all-time greats. So no, I don't think he'd be as good as he is. And Russ, the whole Russ situation, he just never should have been a Laker. I talked about it before. When I watch Lakers games, when I watch Russ, I've been a Russ fan his entire career. Like, I'm a Thunder fan as well as a Sixers fan. Born in Oklahoma, that's why I'm a Thunder fan. And watching Russ throughout his entire career, he's doing the same thing. He's doing the same exact thing he's been doing his entire career. Does he make the best decisions? No. But that's... I joke with my friends all the time. That's what comes with being a Russ fan. Because there are moments where I'm like, yo, this is one of the best players on the planet. And there are other moments when I'm like, yo, that is the dumbest decision I've ever seen on the basketball court. That's just what comes with Russ. That's been I guess I'll say a knock on him throughout his entire career. Yeah, man, that's just who Russ is. I don't know how else to put that without. I don't even mean it as a rude thing. I don't think you were being rude with your question. I don't think you came across as a hater. I think a lot of people are asking that question because I don't think a ton of people really watched Russell Westbrook before he was a Laker, and that's okay because he played for the Thunder, not a huge major market. I mean, yeah, Russ is Russ and he's a superstar, but the Thunder weren't always on national televised games. ESPN isn't always talking about the Thunder. And when they were talking about Russ, it was just, after a while, I was like, okay, he's stat chasing, he's stat padding. No one was really watching Wizards games. I mean, we were kind of watching Rockets games, but not really when he was with Harden. So I get it. A lot of people weren't watching Russ. And I think a lot of people are seeing who Russ is as a player. And I think that's why he's coming under so much scrutiny. But I'm gonna head up out of here. Once again, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. You guys are always pulling up to the stream, so I definitely appreciate it, and I will definitely have a good episode for you guys next week. I'm out. Peace.